Hey everyone, and welcome to Boxmining Daily, where we take a look at the latest developments in cryptocurrency news and markets. The markets had something interesting happening last week, and that's we didn't have a major dump. In fact, we had a growth over the weekend. So does that signal a reversal? Does that signal the start of a bull run? We'll look at the evidence for or against in today's segment. Also, on top of the news, we have Gemini Exchange. They're hiring the former chief of technology from the NYSE, trying to beef up their tech skills. We also have Bitmain. They just closed their Series B funding, and now they are evaluated at $12 billion. We also have the new language for Ethereum called Vyper, and it's gaining some popularity. People are saying it's quite easy to use, and it might challenge Solidity as the main language for development on the Ethereum network. And finally, we see some outrageous news. Xinhua News reported that, Bitcoin trading in China is less than 1% of the global trade volume there. I'm gonna call bullshit on that, and I'll give you the evidence for that in the last segment. And of course, if you guys want to skip directly to the segments, any cool tip is that they're in the comment section down below. You can see the pinned post, and what it'll do is that you can click on the timestamps on there to directly segment that interests you the most. And of course, everything covered here is my personal opinion and not financial advice. So let's start off by taking a look at the markets. So a lot of people, including me, was a little bit fearful of a weekend drop because this happened 2 times in a row for the past 2 weeks. We had a drop on Friday, continued by a 5 to 8% dip on the following Saturday. But this time we had a little bit of a dip on Friday, but actually on Saturday and Sunday, cryptocurrency prices actually went up the other direction. In fact, big Ethereum actually, it touched almost 500, it touched above 500 yesterday night. Of course, right now we're still kind of consolidating that price, but a lot of people are now questioning this. Is this the mark of the beginning of a bull run? I've seen quite a few analysts and videos covering this, and I just want to weigh in my personal opinion. For me, a very important metric is Google Trends, the search trend for Bitcoin or Ethereum or other cryptocurrencies. This is because the general interest must increase before we have any major kind of increase in adoption or bringing of value. This is because if there's an increase in the number of people searching for Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, that means they're interested, they want to do research, and they eventually want to buy it. So let's take a look at that. So over the past 12 months, you probably see the biggest spike and increase in trends for Bitcoin search term is around December. So that kind of matches up with the December rise and the January fury of crypto bull run. But right now, after pretty much February, the trend is pretty much stagnant, and it's only at around 1/10 of the search volume of January. Now, in terms of these few weeks, I'm just taking a look at the monthly chart. We don't have an explosive growth in the search for Bitcoin yet. And another indicator of the bull run was the Korean price discrepancy, or just discrepancy in prices between different regions overall. See, last bull run, we had a 10 to 13% premium for South Korean prices for cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and Bitcoin. The reason for that is because it was hard to move currency in and out of the country, and hence presented a big arbitrage opportunity. Right now, we don't have this price disparity. We don't have a premium or any sort of big push. Right now, the trade volumes seem to really be centered around the ex-Chinese exchanges like OKX, Big One, or Binance. So right now, personally, I don't see the bull run happening exactly right now. It means that right now we're still in a calm period where we're steadily increasing our general foundation and the accessibility to crypto, so we're more prepared for the next run when it comes. In terms of positive developments in the news, we see the Gemini Exchange, they're hiring the former Chief Information Officer of the NYSE. So Robert Cornish, he was in charge of Nasdaq's smart market surveillance. So we can kind of guess what they're trying to do here. Gemini Exchange, they're trying to use this guy's experience in marketing and surveying order books to increase that regulation compatibility for cryptocurrency exchange, their cryptocurrency exchange rather. So this is definitely an interesting play, hiring people who are experienced in the exchange industry to come in and to legitimize the industry as a whole. So I definitely see this as a big step movement in infrastructure for both Gemini and for cryptocurrency exchanges in the US. Next up, we have Bitmain, the company that everyone in the cryptocurrency world loves to hate, and they've just raised between $300 to $400 million in their Series B. This puts their company at $12 billion. That's mind-boggling how much Bitmain is worth right now. They are known for producing ASICs. They're the biggest company producing ASICs on the market right now, and they produce the Antminer S9. So raising so much money, what does that mean? Well, it means that they have more money to produce different ASICs and try to get their technology a little bit better. We've seen recently that different companies are trying to enter the scene and beat them at their very own game and having manufacturing at 9 nanometers instead of 12 nanometers. So they probably want that new capital to increase their game in producing ASICs. As much as we want to hate them, it also shows that this field is maturing, that big funds are taking note of Bitcoin mining as an investment opportunity. This next news is pretty cool. So Ethereum has always been dominated by a language called Solidity. And there's been so many flaws and criticisms of Solidity that a new language is rising for Ethereum platform. This is called Vyper. So Vyper aims at increasing that transparency for contracts, so when it's written down, it's much more transparent and also easier to use. What's interesting about Vyper is that it's actually eliminating class inheritance, function overloading, and operation overloading and recursion. So these are functions that have potential vulnerabilities in them and are points of weakness for attack for hackers to attack various smart contracts. So by eliminating these and forcing developers to write different kind of contracts that use different alternatives and not inheriting variables, that might mean a more robust smart contract ecosystem in the future. So this is something definitely we're following and looking into. And lastly, this made me laugh out really loud, which is the fact that China Xinhua news agency, the state mouthpiece, is claiming that China takes less than 1% of the total global currency trade volume. So you can click into the article here to see that. What's happening is that this seems to be a government position. They're trying to say that, well, crypto is not being traded in China. It's less than 1% of the global maximum. Our crackdown was extremely effective. But I call total bullshit on that because right now the top exchanges in trade volume, they're the ex-Chinese exchanges, and they can't really go up into the moon in terms of trade volume without Chinese involvement. That's not really possible. So if you look at trade volume, OKX is up there, Bit1 is up there, Huobi is up there, that's for Ethereum. And yet again, for Bitcoin trade volume, we have Binance topping it out with BTC USDT, but following them is OKX, which is ex-Chinese, Huobi, ex-Chinese, ZB.com, ex-Chinese as well. So definitely I see that China is still very much topping in trade volume. So the conclusion to this piece is this. I definitely don't think China has 1% trade volume. That's what the government wants you to think. And there's going to be a bigger disparity in the future between what's published and what's really happening. Remember when China reported that they banned cryptocurrency mining earlier on this year? Well, just a few months ago, we saw that not only is mining well and alive in China, but mining hardware is sold retail. I mean, that's huge accessibility to mining equipment and the fact that most people can start mining at home and building their own mining like farms organically. So what I want to say here is that there is definitely going to be a difference between what is presented by formal media, especially if it's coming out of China and might have political objectives there, between what's really happening, between the real trade volumes that we see on these exchanges. A lot of them are most likely from ex-Chinese or Chinese people that have different passports or can gain access to these exchanges without people technically being caught by the exchanges. And honestly, that widening gap between what is presented on the media and what's officially out there versus what's really happening, if that widens, a lot of people are going to be dumbstruck when big changes happen in crypto and they just get caught off guard because they thought, well, China's no longer a big player. Well, that's my current take on the situation. There's definitely a lot of cryptocurrency trading in China, and that's a huge, huge factor. And we shouldn't really forget about it. We should definitely take a closer look at what's happening with these exchange volumes, with what's happening with the mining scene, because that's going to have a big impact on the future of cryptocurrencies. That's pretty much hashtag fake news right there coming out of Xinhua. Guys, I'd love to hear your views on that as well. Do you really think that China only accounts for 1% of the global trade volume? Leave a comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Remember to click the like and subscribe to this channel and the little notification bell to be notified of new videos when they get released. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.